The Conversation by Sync Skills.
What are some of these barriers that African immigrants face?
The information that you're being fed, the people around you, when you're new into the country, it really does matter.
Working in a lower level than they should. The sad thing is we've seen some of them actually get stuck in that kind of job.
Sometimes people have got conflicting priorities. You probably have to work like double the hours so you can make some money. If you don't have someone tapping you every single day to say that's not the destination, people forget.
What would you say your own top 3 skills that a business analyst must have?
One of the key skills, the analytical part of things, because when you're analytical, you question everything. What do you think an introvert should keep in mind if they're feeling scared? A lot of interaction.
The job does not even want you to be a talkative. It just wants you to find facts, find information, document it. So many things you truly do not know. Your superpower is the ability to find answers, research. Hello everyone, my name is Noah and I've got Tayo here. So in this episode of The Conversation, we're going to be chatting about how to get into no-code tech roles, and we'll be diving into, what you need to be aware about when we talk about no-code tech roles. We'll talk about some of these roles, right? Business analyst, project manager, Scrum Master, and the likes. And we'll be walking you through some of the critical skills that you need to thrive and be competent in these roles. And you really dive into how easy it is. You have some of these skills already, and we'll help you bring that to life, really. And we'll talk about what a typical day look like, from my own perspective. I'll be sharing from a Scrum Master perspective, and Taya will be sharing from a business analyst perspective. So if you want to learn about all things no-code tech roles, stay with us on this journey as we take you into an insightful journey. Right, Taya?
Absolutely. Really thrilled for this one because I think it's a lot of things. Even though it sounds very popular, a lot of people still don't have that understanding. So hopefully this session would bring you some more clarity on who a business analyst is, what they do, what do you actually need from a skill point of view to be successful in this role.
Sweet. So I guess we should just start from demystifying. There are a lot of barriers that African immigrants face, especially when they come to Australia, UK, Canada. Is the same thing. So let's chat about some of these barriers that we typically see a lot of people face, specifically people that, maybe had a good career going on back home in Africa, and they come here, now they're stuck. So what are some of these barriers that you've seen?
There's a couple, I would say, but I think that oftentimes the first thing that jumps at people is really the information they are being fed. Because there are people who come into the country and they have a mindset, I'm just going to further my career, be it accountant or be it a lawyer, be it a doctor. But then the system oftentimes is very limiting by the virtue of the type of visa people come into the country with. As an example, if you come into the country with a student visa, automatically no one's going to really offer you a full-time role because of the restriction on that visa. But beyond that, another barrier that I've seen is the information. So someone picks you up at the airport and they start to pitch certificate 3, certificate 4 to you. They start to pitch first aid and working with all of those checks that you need. I'm not saying that is wrong, but that can really make people just settle since, this person has lived in this country for 15 years. They certainly know better than I do. And if they're pitching to me that this is the only role available, then that is it. So I think that sometimes it's also the information that people are privy to. The awareness is not there. That there are other things that people can explore in the country that people can further their career, I'm not in no way taking some of the constraints that is absolutely beyond you, i.e. visa, i.e., skills sometimes. What I'm trying to say is two things that jumps to my mind really is the information that you're being fed, the people around you when you're new into the country, it really does matter, especially if you want to explore or keep being in the career that you had back home or even explore something better. So if I'm not in a position where someone's actually cheering me on, telling me, look, Tayo, you're on a student visa now, I get it, but when you're done, these are things that you can do. There are people that didn't come into the country with a student visa. Literally, they had no restrictions. So that means if they had the right level of awareness, they could further their career.
Yeah.
But because automatically it's like, that's hard.
Yeah.
You're never going to get back into that role. You can't do it. This is not
Yeah.
what we do in this country. That is very limiting. That affects a lot of people. It's more like you're being like you're in a, how do I call it? Like you're being covered. Like you're
Yeah.
not allowed to explore because of the information. And the brain is very beautiful.
Yeah.
Your brain automatically just, okay, yeah, whatever. This is what they do. I move on.
Exactly.
Yeah, so I think that that's a very big barrier. Visa can be one, and also the information that you have, the people around you can really, really impact your ability to explore the career that you had back home or even explore something better in the
Yeah.
country.
I think that's so powerful. You talk about the information you're fed. So yeah, you come here and they tell you these are the industry you can work to get
Yeah,
the kind of money you need to survive. And you see Mr. A, Sister B, D, E,
yeah,
all of them, they are doing
everyone.
like almost everyone doing the same thing. Your
Yeah,
mindset is like, oh, this is actually the way forward, right?
that's
I've
right.
had to just blend in, you
Yeah.
know, which is not always the case. That's why I think I met somebody last weekend and he was like, when I was a student, the kind of people I had around me were like people who were working professionally. So I
Mm,
just knew that this was not a choice for me not to get
mm,
a professional job. And
mm,
that's the difference between
mm.
if you come into this country and with people around you, this is what they are doing. It has
Yeah,
influence. We are influenced by our environment, which
absolutely.
which is very important. So the second part I want to also highlight is fact that there are genuinely people who come, say for example, be very practical, a
Yeah,
doctor, right? Or a nurse. There are things that you need to do to be able to practice. Sometimes it's expensive,
it's
it
hard
is
as
it
well.
is hard as well,
Yeah,
right? In those situations, I believe, right, you can work towards, we've seen doctors who are doing, care, youth work
yeah,
just to get by.
yeah,
And effectively, that's like being working in a lower level than they should,
yeah,
ideally. But the sad thing is, we've seen some of them actually get stuck in that kind of job. What do you think, in your view,
yeah,
is the reason for that? Of course, appreciating that, yes, yeah, appreciating that there are things that they need to fulfill in terms of
yeah.
qualification. But why do you think that some of them don't actually work towards fulfilling that? They just give
Mm,
up, like, hey, well, this is paying me enough, and I just keep doing it.
yeah. Using that very one that you gave, because I know that that's a little bit hard. Personally, I don't have the experience, but I know like a couple of people that have been there. I know the exams are intense. Like
Yeah,
it's not just one cycle of exam as well. Some of
yeah,
them would be required to go back to Nigeria to go and do some sort of practice. Then they come back into the country. You also need to pay like exorbitant, amount of money, which some people are not in a position to afford. But I think that the first thing really is complacency. Sometimes, because as humans, when you start to make some money, you may get deceived that that's actually where you're going to. Like that's the top for you because
yeah,
you're making some money right now. Whereas at the back of your mind that this is not really what you want to be doing. This is not really the career for you. And you know that you can make more money if you were actually to explore the original career that you were in, like, using like a doctor as an example. I think that sometimes it's not really a black and white situation, and sometimes people have got conflicting priorities. So for me, I would say first thing is really conflicting priorities. In a country where, as an example, you probably have 3 children and you've come in on a student visa, you're worried about their tuition because you're paying as an international student,
Yeah.
you're worried about their tuition. You don't even have enough time to think about the exams that you need to write because they also cost a lot of money. So you're worried about their tuition, you're worried about your bills. And the sort of job that you're probably doing, as an example, if you're working in care, that takes a lot of your time if you want to make good money, all right?
Yeah.
You probably have to work like double the hours so you can make some money. You have to work the weekends, which just clouds your mind,
Mm-hmm.
which then leads to complacency because your mind is clouded. I need to work 7 days a week. You work 7 days a week, you make the money, the little time left, you just want to sleep and rest, really.
Yeah.
So at that point in time, you absolutely have no recollection of the exam that you need to do. And then you do that for 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, it becomes the norm. If you don't have someone tapping you every single day to say, Tayo, that's not the destination. This is not what you really want to do. People forget
Yeah. True.
because again you're making some money. So it's really I think that oftentimes is really the circumstance. It's hard, you've got bills to pay, etc., and then you become very complacent, and then you move into the peak, which is you just settle, like you literally just settle, like, anyway, that's it. And
Yeah.
if you're like the person that you said, that person being on a student visa and the people around them were in a different type of sector working, that is, passively telling them that you cannot do anything less than this. But if reverse were to be the case, in the case of a doctor, who, all the people around them they're working in this sector where they know that it's below their level as a doctor, they may forget.
Yeah.
And you're making money, everything is looking good. You forget your actual worth, which is quite sad when you think about it.
I think it is really sad. And that takes me to, really spotlighting the importance of planning, right? So I know like we all want to like migrate, and especially appreciating like the issues and
Yeah,
challenges we have back home.
yeah,
But I think that planning is very key to that
absolutely,
process, right? So there are a lot
absolutely.
of people that have really planned their life in a way that when they are coming, they are able to navigate some of those barriers more
Yeah,
easily, right?
yeah,
So we see people go, maybe rather than just come to Australia straight, they go to UK, like
yeah,
especially nurses that I know, go to the
yes,
UK, do their, exams and all
yeah,
of this, practice for a bit, then they come
yeah,
to Australia. Even some of them are sponsored from
yeah,
Australia, from UK to come to Australia
yeah.
and up fully paid. They get their PR, and life is much more easy.
Yeah.
So I think planning is you also have like a fair share to share about planning and
Oh my
how that
goodness.
is very important.
Oh my goodness. On the layer of planning, Noah, like I would really, really love to say that if you're migrating, or even like with anything in life, if you're changing from point A to B, you need to find out what is point B. What will success look like when I get to point B?
Mhm.
What are the challenges that I could face when I get to point B?
Yeah.
Who are the people in point B? Because that is extremely important. I'll share my story because I think that even though I know that there's a God factor and all of those amazing things, I know that there are things that I could have done differently. I, as an example, coming into this country, I absolutely had no plans. And I know that when I say it out loud sometimes, a lot of people may not believe it. And even when I say it out sometimes, I'm like, just shush, just don't say that too loud. It doesn't sound good. But that's the reality. Like, that's
Yeah.
my truth. And I'm saying it out there so someone could learn. I have no regrets. And that's the plain truth.
Yeah.
I have no regrets. What I have is lessons that I can transfer onto other people. Now, coming into this country, I had no plans. I will tell you for a fact, I absolutely even didn't know what permanent residency was or citizenship. Like, I knew that people were called citizens. I didn't even know how they got there. I thought I was going to get there by luck. Somehow it's going to happen. I was quite young at the time. So it was like, well, let's just go into the country and student visa, things are going to work. Things will happen. Literally
Yeah.
at the back of my mind was something was going to happen and I was going to maybe find myself in Canada and I was going to, I just, thinking about it, I'm trying to go back to my younger self. That was where my mind was at there. Well, one way, I cannot suffer. There's always going to be something. But the danger in me not coming into the country prepared is that when you come into a place and you're not prepared, you collect all the answers and everything that people throw at you because you have no
Yeah.
plan. And that's what I always say, like, you need to be the biggest driver in your own life. If you're not, life will drive you anywhere life feels like. So for me, it's like coming into the country, not knowing about the country, not knowing the opportunities available in the country, not knowing the things that I could do. I didn't even know that you could work. Like that was how little I knew at that point in time. I didn't have a plan from a career point of view. I
Mm.
didn't have a plan even for my education. I came in with a 1.5 year uh, study period, 1.5 study period, which meant when I finished, and let's go back to the country because it wasn't up to 2 years, just imagine. And that is how little I knew about where I was coming from, where I was coming into, so rather. So it's extremely important on the layer of your planning. Of course, you can't even plan when you don't know what's ahead, right? So you need to find out what is ahead and then you need to make plans.
Yeah.
When you exactly know where you're going to, that guides your plan. And it even helps you to evaluate, is Australia really the place for me?
Mm.
Is Canada really the place for me? Look, I see a lot of people just going to the UK, and I'm like, did you even think about the UK? Have you thought about your life and what you need to do and what you currently have? Does that really align? Are you going to be able to have a good life in 10 years in the UK, or would you have to wait 30 before you can even get their citizenship or whatever it is they call it over there? So
Yeah.
it's not really, I think this is really important that if you want to migrate, like I would do things very differently. Like if I were to look back, if I were to go back and do a rewind and say, Tayo, you want to go, you're leaving Nigeria for another country. I would sit down and evaluate.
Yeah.
And I would not just choose things because they sounded good. Like I chose my university literally because the name sounded posh. How silly I was. Like,
University of
honestly, I chose
Newcastle.
the university because I was like, oh, this sounds good. Like, so that's actually gives me the ego when I say it out loud. But
But to be
essentially,
fair, you were quite young then, so it's
yeah.
forgivable, I would say.
Yeah. So it's extremely important. Don't just go to the UK because everyone's going there. How does that even align? How does it align with the things that you want to do? Don't just come to Australia because my brother, my sister, everyone they're in Australia. No, you need to have a plan. Find out about the place for yourself and then evaluate. So back to the doctor question again, I think planning would be extremely important. If you know that, okay, I'm coming in as a doctor and it's quite hard because the system is different. And of course, we cannot appreciate that being a doctor, no one's just going to give you the certificate and tell you to start practicing because you've got people's life in your hands. So it's really about planning. And with everyone else, whether you want to explore tech roles, whether you're a teacher, whether you're an accountant, whether you're a lawyer, it's really finding out about where you're going to and then thinking about your career. What do you want for yourself? Such that when people come at you with all of the things that they find as, well, this is what we do, you evaluate it and then you bounce it off the plans that you have. How would I fit my plan into this system that is constraining me at this point in time? And I think that that's extremely important.
Very, very important. Like I remember when I was, about to leave Nigeria because like I'm always pro Nigeria, right? I wanted
Yes,
to
you
build
were.
companies in Nigeria, grow my
Yeah,
career in Nigeria.
yeah.
But I think one incident happened, several actually happened that okay, now I have had enough. Because one instance was when I
Yeah.
got promoted in my last company in Nigeria, and at that time dollar was just crashing on us anyhow. Like I was just like, okay, I've just been promoted, but my my buying power is still like reduced.
Yeah.
It looks like I'm walking backwards, right?
Yeah.
So I'm not being competitive. Like
Yeah.
I was like just sick of it. Like the value of the money I was earning was just going down.
Appreciating.
So I was
Oh,
like, nah, I've had enough. This is not where I want to be, growing my life and my career. Let me have a change. But yeah, to your point, planning, then I did plan a lot, right? Even
you did.
going to the UK to study masters, I think I paid off my tuition fee in like 3 months because I
Yeah.
had remote jobs. I was
Yeah.
doing a couple of jobs at that time
Yeah.
remotely, and all of that. But you remember that I was still doing low skill job. The other day I was thinking about it like, I did low skill job by choice, right? So,
Yeah.
and for context, the low skill job I did in the UK was very cheeky one.
It was so annoying because it
I
was
know
so
you.
unnecessary.
I know you didn't agree with that, but I'm a sports person, right? So I love watching football and everything. And in the UK, I was working as a tester, like a QA engineer. We'll
Yeah.
talk about what that means later. So I was working as a QA engineer with a company based in Europe,
Yeah.
Malta, and then I was still working with InterSwitch in Nigeria.
As a PM.
So yeah, basically remotely. So I was earning money, right? And I could pay off my fees and everything. I was comfortable. But then I love football. And I found out that you could do steward. They call them steward, which is like the guys that coordinate
Can you use
crowd
the
in the
actual
stadium.
word, the security?
No, they
Wasn't it?
call it steward. Hey, they call it steward, but yeah, security vibe, but it's steward, right? And basically, it's a low skill job. Like we'll be there out there in the field, and it's freezing, it's raining. You still have to be there coordinating the crowd, orderliness in the stadium. I know you hated it,
Oh
but
my
I
goodness.
was doing it by choice, right? I didn't have to do it. And
Yeah.
that's the point. Like, if you're doing something you genuinely love, that the mindset is different. I was
Yeah.
doing it because I wanted free access to the stadium, watch real watch football matches without
Introvert.
actually paying for the ticket. Right? I didn't want to pay
Yeah.
for the ticket. I still want to be in that stadium. They'll have the real feel and things like that. I remember like one time, Ronaldo, popular footballer for those who don't know, where I was seated, I was like very close to the ball boy.
And you couldn't
He,
tell.
he came to actually take a throw, like a throw in, and
Yeah.
I saw him for the first time so close. Like, I've watched this guy for like many years on
On
TV.
TV.
But like that job actually gave me opportunity to see him like inch close. Of course, I couldn't touch him or converse with him, but that gave me so much pleasure that wow, I've just seen Ronaldo up close like this. But yeah, what I'm saying is like the mindset is different. I really genuinely love doing that in my
Yeah.
spare time, right? Just to get the experience of being in the stadium and not actually pay for a ticket and being close to the footballers, like seeing them, in action. Whether it is raining or it's very, very cold in the snow, it was still fun for me. But of course, I know I was doing by choice and it wasn't like my long term. So
Yeah.
I was just doing it for that period. So yeah, but the point is, I had everything planned. So even when I had the opportunity to do low skill job, I did it gracefully because I really enjoyed it, and
Yeah.
I had that freedom. So there are some times where they say, "Oh, there's a match in Birmingham. Birmingham is too far from where I live. All city. I'm not going. I choose when I want to go. I choose the games I want to go. I
Yeah.
mostly want to go for my United games." Because it's free access to Old Trafford. So I really want to go to those games. So there's this beauty about if you're doing something and you're free and you're really happy about it, like I can tell anybody what I'm doing. That is fine. And it's not telling on my health because I'm happy, you know. I get that dopamine hit when I see Ronaldo and my team scores and I'm like up close. They're celebrating, they're coming close to me where I'm standing, and it's just amazing. But planning is important
Absolutely.
to give you options for you
Very.
to learn about, how the environment works, what to expect, the opportunities there, and really leverage that.
Yeah.
Uh, but in saying that, but in saying that, you know, tech gives you freedom
Yeah.
beyond the money, right? Freedom in says that if you go to any country in the world, you're not restricted like doctor, like lawyers, like nurses,
Yeah.
where you have to take like certification exam upon exams the way they have to, and they are heroes. But there's freedom with tech. Even people that have not studied, gone to university or anything, that are
Yeah.
self-taught, they're working in tech and earning a lot, and they can work from any country. Some of them are digital nomad. They just
Yeah.
work from different. So it gives you option. And that leads to the next question. How easy is it to get into tech career, in your
Hmm.
opinion?
In my opinion, I think that you need you to get into the career. And the you that I mean is the you that is ready. So the easiness comes with readiness. If you're not ready, it's hard. Okay, it can be a really long road. But if you're ready, your readiness comes with brings you some level of ease because you know that this is really what you want. From a how do you get into tech point of view, if you wanted to compare to other career, look, my siblings, they're doctors and nurses and lawyers, and they're doing absolutely well, and I love them to death, and I know that they're doing a lot. But even I appreciate the fact that, oh my goodness, this is intense. My brother literally reads every single time. Every time I reach out to him, it's like, oh, I'm studying for this exam. I'm doing this exam. Literally always reading. I mean, and it comes to them naturally. But to people who would like to explore something a little different, which if you wanted to explore tech roles, in terms of the easiness, in terms of how practical or what can I do easily, I would say out of 10, I would rate it 8. And I say the 8 from a place of the readiness point of view, like you're ready, you want to do this. Let's think about the why, and let's think about why is she saying this? Because a couple of them require a lot of things that you already have naturally.
Yeah.
And even if you don't have like 100% of them naturally, you have them. We all communicate, right? We all manage people. We all have family members. Some people have
Yeah.
got wives, some people have got husbands. These are new people. Like when you get married, you're marrying someone who was never a part of your family. So you're getting to know them. So you're managing them. Managing in this context is not like you're like enduring, right? I mean, like you are really with them and listening to their cues and taking in on board the things that they like and do not like.
Yeah.
A lot of us already do this. A lot of people are moving into the country, they've had to do some form of research. So you already have a lot of skills, and that's where the easiness comes in. Like you already have a lot of soft skills, which are extremely important for you to be successful. When we talk about some no code tech roles specifically here. So the easiness is that one, you are ready. Two is that you already have a lot of the natural skills that you need to be successful on the job.
Absolutely. And just to buttress what you just said, through our program, for those of you that don't know, we actually run Team Skills, and we been tired with you don't even want to imagine it. A lot of people from different backgrounds, right? So we've seen like nurses, doctors, lawyers,
Yeah.
whatever career, just name it. We've seen it all. And most recently we had one of our nurse start as a business analyst, right? So
Yes.
basically he leveraged, he was sharing his experience in interview, how he leveraged some of the skills he uses to do the job
Yeah.
currently,
Yeah.
to secure to wow them in that interview. And that's why, for people that don't know, sync skills, we say you bring your current existing skills and existing skills
Yeah.
and marry with new one.
Yeah.
You're syncing that skills together so that you can target jobs, jobs that will pay you six-figure salary. So whatever you're doing currently, there's definitely skills that you're deploying,
Yeah.
to actually deliver value on that job. Whether you're a care worker, you're a youth worker, you're a nurse, you're an accountant, whatever role you're doing, there'll be some form of communication. There'll be some form of stakeholder management. There will be some form of report.
Absolutely.
There's so many things that you can carry forward and
Yeah.
develop and improve on and learn new things that you definitely can sync together and perform on this job. So it
I
is it
agree.
is it is it is very important to mention that. So let's
I
let's
agree.
highlight some of the skills that, from your perspective as a senior business analyst
Yeah.
with a member bank, right? How do you say that?
With a member-owned bank,
Yeah,
Australia's second largest mutual bank, for
I know
context.
that gives you joy when you say that.
I mean, you should be proud. I think that it's been
I
a
am
journey,
proud.
so I am super proud of that.
Yep. So, like, from your perspective as a
Yeah.
business analyst that works
Yeah.
for such a high,
Yeah.
prestigious organization,
Yeah.
um, what would you say is like your own top three skills, right, that a business analyst must have?
Okay. I think I talked about communication, but I won't go deeper into that because a lot of people are like, yeah, we've had a lot of times. I think I'll talk about analytical skills, and then I'll talk about importance of stakeholder management skills, then I'll talk about the details. So for me, I would say one of the key things or one of the key skills of a business analyst is really the analytical part of things, like the analytical part of your brain. And the reason that I love this is because when you're analytical, you question everything. Like you literally, where you're questioning at and you probe things. So when you do that, you're able to identify what's the problem. So because from your questioning, from your probing mind, which a lot of people currently do right now,
Yeah,
I've seen people like with their partners and their friends, like, it's like, oh, why did you do this? Okay, so then when you did this, so then what was the thinking? At least for me, I know, I would ask my husband and be like, can you run me through your thought process? Like even before I was in tech, I'd be like, can you run me through what's going on in your head? And then you run me through it. I'm like, okay, so but what was behind the thinking? And sometimes you're like, nothing, like literally, there's nothing. So it's really around you want to get into the nitty gritty. So you identify the problem, then you start to investigate, which is part of you being analytical because analytical is not you just, okay, that's the problem. All right, this is answer one. Nah.
yeah,
So when you identify, you want to then dig deeper. Let's investigate this thing. Like, what's the actual crux of the matter? Like, where's your head at? What are you thinking about? And I think there's so much beauty in that. And I know that a lot of people can relate to the fact that you may not call the skill that you currently have analytical,
yeah,
but hopefully you can draw a couple of things from what I'm saying in the sense that when you have the ability to identify a problem, you can investigate, then you can find out the relevant fact. Because the truth is, in your investigation, not everything will make sense or
mm-hmm,
not everything will be relevant to the problem or the need or the opportunity.
yeah,
So your ability to say, okay, yeah, let's park this in the parking lot and let's pick on this fact. So you deal with fact, emotions aside, it's logic I
yeah,
use. And I think that in my journey in life as well, I try to not leverage a lot of my emotional brain and just blend my emotional brain with my logical brain, because then that gives you the balance. And I know that I'm still on that journey, but yes, so as a business analyst, your ability to identify a problem, your ability to investigate, your ability to then sift out what is relevant to the situation, what is not relevant to the situation. That then brings you to a logical solution, which we all currently do. I think that as a human being right now, you already do this. Like, you already
Yeah.
use a lot of your analytical skills, because oftentimes people don't just jump into a solution, right? So I think that's a very important skill, being analytical. Another one that I would say is the stakeholder management. So stakeholder management is you not being pushed in a difficult situation. I've been in situations at work where it literally gotten very heated, and Taya is seen as the messiah. Like, she's just gonna smile and try to, let's all slow down. I get it. Like, I understand what the issue is. Let's calm down. But we all currently do that. We all like manage our friends. We all ensure that our friends are happy. We all ensure that our wives, your husband, we all ensure that you keep them happy. You speak their language. You support them in the way that they want to be supported, not in the way that you think that they should be supported. You listen to them, which is part of stakeholder management skills. You listening and not shutting people out. You disagree, but you disagree respectfully, right? That's what we call stakeholder management skills.
Yeah.
You communicate effectively. You let people express their thoughts and their opinion. And then you respectfully, strategically say, look, no, you do have a point. However, I think that we could go this route at this point in time. Not, nah, your point is invalid.
Yeah.
Stakeholder management means you're in a tense situation, but you're able to just find a balance even in the midst of the chaos. I've been in situations at work where, I'll give an example, like where we're with this stakeholder, and she didn't. I think that they were going through a lot of pressure as well, in the team she was working on, and we were just brought her into this session trying to talk about the project and some of the things that we needed. And she literally said, guys, I have absolutely no clue what you're talking about. No one has told me this thing. I don't have an idea. I'm confused. And she just went, oh, no, 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 no. I'm like, oh, in that moment, we had to listen and then appreciate and acknowledge what she was saying, and then ask to reschedule the meeting. So I listened to her and said, oh my goodness, I can understand where you're coming from, and really, really acknowledging what you're saying. I hear you completely. I think that I need to send you some more, documents for you to have some context, and we can regroup and have this conversation again. And I asked her if that was fine. And she did appreciate that, because if we had gone on and on in that session, she
Yeah.
obviously wasn't in the best state of mind, and she was going through a lot. And 2 weeks after, she resigned because she was actually wanting to explore another role. So, there's a lot of things that can happen. And stakeholder management, we all currently do it right now. Your stakeholder management skills ensures that even when someone's coming at you, you never, ever react to them in the way that they've treated you, even if it's not pleasant. So I tell myself that I don't want to be reactive in situations ever. I train myself every single day. And then when I'm in difficult situations, I try to think about it. Am I being reactive, or am I responding to the situation? And if my answer is reactive, I take a step backwards, because I know that never does good. Like, it's never a really good, attribute to be very reactive in situations. And it's just, really important. But the point is, you already use a lot of your stakeholder management skills, and that's the beauty of tech. And even if you don't have like that patience right now, these are things that can be developed. You can train yourself to be in difficult situations and still manage it. I tell myself, like, be it work, be it church, be it outside, internal, external, wherever, I never ever want anyone to have an human interaction with me and leave that session feeling awful. I never want to do that. I want every encounter with me, whether I'm being assertive or not, I still want you to feel like a valued person. I never want people to leave me after any interaction and say, goodness me, who trained this girl? And I take the same thing to work. I take it everywhere that I go to. And I think
Yeah.
that that's a very powerful skill that, as a business analyst, you own. Even in interviews, interviewers scout for that skill. They want to find out. So they ask you things like, how do you handle difficult situations? How do you manage conflict? Because they want to know whether your own conflict is goodbye, God bless you, just hang up.
Yeah.
Do you understand? So it's extremely important. And the last one that we'll talk about is
Before
being,
the last one, can you
yeah.
define stakeholders just for people who are hearing
Okay, so
stakeholder but don't know?
stakeholders are literally, in simple terms, they're people that are invested in the work that you're doing. As an example, in your household, the stakeholders that you live with, if you're married, your wife, your husband, your children, your family members, they're your stakeholders because they have an influence in your life. They are impacted by the things that you do or do not do. So
Yeah.
stakeholders are really people who are impacted, like, in the context of work, are people that are impacted by a particular endeavor or just
Mm.
generally people in the company, really. So stakeholders are people management. In the context of your home, your stakeholders, your partner, your children, your friends, your community, your church members, they are
Yeah.
stakeholders
So
in
there are
that.
people who are affected by the work we do or our actions or have
That's correct.
interest in it or are influenced by that action or
Yeah.
decision.
Yeah.
So those are stakeholders. Yeah. To the third one.
So to the third one, I would say you need to be detail oriented, and I say that because as a business analyst, you can't scratch the surface. It just never works because underneath that surface, there's something that's probably going to be helpful or useful. So me, as an example, on my project, I don't just listen to people and say, okay, yeah, I accept. I'm like, okay, what are the other variables? What could go wrong? What are the other things? And I know recently my boss was like, have you worked in sort of like a risk advisory team before? Because you got such a huge appetite for risk. I'm always looking for what could possibly go wrong. And that gets me ahead because when I think about what could possibly go wrong, what are the other variables? What are the other factors that could possibly impact my project or influence the project or derail the project at any point in time? It gives us more clarity. It opens the canker worm for things that we need to explore very quickly.
Yeah.
And I say this, the devil is in the detail. There's a reason why organizations cannot do without business analysts. It's because we are the custodian of the details. We collect so much information. I think that we're such important people anywhere we go to in the
Yeah.
workplace as a business analyst because we literally are the custodian of the details. A lot of people deal with high level info, whereas as a business analyst, you're into the nitty gritty. People cannot do without you in the company. I mean, if you're doing a good job, they literally cannot do without you because all the little details, all the things that look like, oh, I wasn't thinking about that. A business analyst has picked the top already, and everyone's like, oh my goodness, good thinking, good, good thought, good spot. So I
Yeah.
think that as a business analyst, your mindset is the devil is in the detail. When you get into the detail, you have a lot of clarity, you have a lot of information, and you're gearing for success.
Brilliant. Brilliant. I think that's so super important. I'm gonna talk about
Let's hear from a Scrum Master's view. Like, what do you think?
yeah. I'm
Scrum
gonna share my
Master,
top three in
yeah,
terms of not just Scrum Master now. I think it's applicable to all roles effectively, really. Scrum Master, project manager, which is similar,
I
really.
agree. I agree.
Business analyst, software tester, product designer, product
Yeah.
owner, all of those roles, software developers. All right. So the first one, communication, and trust me, I'm not going to talk about in context of the cliche, the way we've all defined communication skill,
Yeah.
excellent communication. Yeah, we all talk so we can communicate. As long as you are not deaf or dumb, right? You're communicating.
Yeah.
So we all have some form of communication skills, like people that are don't have disability, right? So but what does it really mean in the context of work, right? It is about in practical terms, for example, as a Scrum Master, you lead teams, right? You want to prepare a report, you want to make inference. So communication start from how do you engage with your team members, right? Because you facilitate a lot of discussion, a lot of meetings with these guys. So you
Yeah.
need to be able to choose your words carefully,
Yeah.
communicate the objective of your project, the expectation. It's just like you want to, you want to have a party, right? You need to communicate the idea, what you're trying
Absolutely.
to, because if you say party can be birthday party, it
Yeah.
can be baby
Wedding.
dedication, it can be
Yeah.
wedding.
Yeah.
The objective is also different, right? So
That's
you
right.
need to be able to articulate exactly what the objective of a project you're trying to implement is. A
Yeah.
scrum master, a project manager, project owner, product owner, all of them, all those roles, business analysts, you need communication skill as one of your solid skill set, right?
Yeah.
In the way you communicate project objective, the way you speak to people, the people you work with, and communication is not just verbal one, it's not
Nah.
just talking, it's also in the document you create.
Yeah.
So you create document like project plan document, business case, requirement document. How are you communicating this idea? Do you write stuff and then people have to call you and say, what do you mean by this? What do you mean by this thing you're
Yeah.
requesting for? It's just like going back to the event. You want to have a birthday party. You're writing what you need. Oh, you need a decorator, you need um food vendor,
Catering,
and you want to
logistics.
detail your requirement, the type of
Mm.
food and stuff, and you're just vague and you're like, oh, I need food for the party, I need food for the party, I need drinks for the party.
Yeah.
Definitely, the vendor is going to ring you up and say, hey, what type of food? Like, for how many people? And they say, drinks. Okay, what type of drink? Is it alcoholic? Is it not alcoholic? All of those things. But if you're able to go into the detail, which also relates to what you were talking about, give more clarity, be detailed, be clear, be concise, people
Absolutely.
will love you for it. So communication, verbal communication, written communication,
Yeah.
active listening. Active
Active
listening is also part of communication. Like, do you or just do you just listen to respond, or you're listening to actually hear the actual information before you
Yeah.
respond, process it, right? So
Yeah.
it's very important. Even the Bible says, like, you need to guide your utterances. You care.
Absolutely.
You can't just talk and just listen to people, even if the situation is heated. Just try and listen to people. So communication is in different form. It's
Um,
like IELTS. Like IELTS is a very interesting exam,
it
and
is. It is.
I just always appreciate the fact that they test your reading, because you need to read something and compare. Listening, writing,
And
and
speaking.
speaking. All of those things are important for you to actually perform in this English speaking environment, right?
Yeah.
So
I have a
your
question for you now.
temperament as well. Yes.
Oh, sorry. Land your point when you're done. I thought you were done.
Yeah, and temperament, right? How do you actually, when you're communicating with people in difficult situation, how are
Mm.
how was your temperament like? All of those things feed into communication as well. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Sorry. I thought you landed
Yeah.
your point already. So my question really, obviously, you've worked in different beautiful roles.
Yeah.
I couldn't help but just think about your journey as a project manager, quality assurance tester, business analyst, product owner, agile delivery lead. They're all very similar.
Yeah.
Can you tell me which of these skills just cuts across the board, or which of these skills have you used the most? And I know that that's probably a difficult question,
Uh
but let's narrow it down to three. Which of these three skills would you say you've used the most across these roles, and that has helped
I
you to
think the
become,
obvious one is communication that I've
yeah,
just spoken about, right? You
yeah,
need to, all of those roles and more. Communication is a big part of it. You need to
yeah,
communication is also critical in how you actually manage your stakeholders, how
Mm.
you do everything else, right?
Mm.
Analyze, problem solve,
Yeah.
everything overall, overarching communication. I say
Yeah.
like that, all those roles, like in my estimation, like 40% is really about collaboration and communication with people.
Mm. Right.
You interface with people more
Yeah.
than anything else.
Yeah.
It's not even 40%. I would say 60%. It's about collaboration with your
Yeah.
team, with your stakeholders, and
Yeah.
communicating with them, to come up with whatever, solve problems,
Yeah.
and then everything else just layers. And that's why you see job roles, they like excellent communication skill. It's not a cliche, it's very
Absolutely.
important, you
Yeah.
know. So
Mm.
communication, collaboration, I would say research skills personally. For
Okay.
me, I haven't worked in different roles. They're similar but different focus as well at times.
Yeah.
I would say one thing gets me on track every time,
Okay.
ability to find answers, which you
Mm.
get from research.
Mm.
Research.
Mm.
So if you can ask a good question,
Mm.
you would always find your way, right? In
Right.
anything. And that's why for you to get the best success in, if you use ChatGPT, all these AI platform,
It's just amazing.
prompting is very
Yeah.
important, right? It's the
Yeah.
same thing. So you need to be able to research to find answers. And I see in my
Wow.
own career basically,
Yeah.
and not just my career alone, even building a business, a company, there are
Yeah.
so many things that you don't know. You truly do not know, right? Because
Yeah.
there's no, like nobody is an island of knowledge, right? So
No one is.
how then do you find information? Google is your friend. ChatGPT, asking people. So basically, research skills is important. It
Mm.
is how, and I say this a lot,
Yes, superpower.
especially for people transitioning. One of my favorite, right? I say
Yes, superpower.
your superpower is the ability to find answers, right? Research.
Yeah.
If you can find answer, you solve everything else.
You can. Absolutely.
Literally, think about it, like you solve all the other problems, you can find answer. So it is
Mm.
super important. And
Wow.
documentation.
Yes.
Third one, you need to document as you forget. And even me, I think I don't document enough, but I have seen some things that I've created like 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And I'm
Yeah.
like, whoa, I store them on Google Drive
Yeah.
and I'm referring to them sometime
Yeah.
today. Template,
Mm.
document some things that I've worked on many years ago. I see
Yeah.
them in my drive. I'm like, oh my God, wow, this is so valuable. So,
Yeah.
yeah, documentation, because there are so many situations on the job that people can play like they didn't know or
Hmm.
they forgot or they have amnesia or what they call
Amnesia. Amnesia.
they will literally deny, especially like if it's a very
I can
tough
say that.
situation.
Yeah. Yeah.
They'll say, yeah, we didn't say that. We didn't say that in the meeting. But if you have documentation, that's why good practice, you run a meeting, take meeting notes, action point, send it after the meeting. So a form of documentation as well. So when
Yeah.
you send it to all the attendees or participants of the meeting, it is there.
Mhm.
So when they are saying we didn't agree on this thing at this time, you
You
just
pull the
pull all
receipt.
the receipt, clear. It was
You
like,
pull the
here
receipt.
was what we discussed, we documented it. They'll
Yeah.
be like, oh yeah, I missed that. Oh
Yeah.
yeah, it will save you a lot of pain.
Absolutely. And honestly, I absolutely agree with that. And if there's one thing that I really love doing, or if there's anything that, my core project team love that I do, I document every single thing. As a business analyst, and this is for someone out there, whether you're transitioning or you're thinking about it or you've transitioned, documentation is your has to be your biggest flex.
Yeah.
Everything has to be documented. Me, before you cough and say anything, I already brought my PowerPoint. I love. creating a deck. I just love it because I'm
Yeah.
very visual. I can do a lot of things with, PowerPoint, whereas Word doc is a little bit boring. Before you say
Yeah.
anything, I already brought out a deck that I'm, just put all the points there, put the date, timestamp, send it across. I keep receipts. Even when we make decisions, sometimes people make decisions via email. I screenshot it and save it in the decision on our Teams
Log.
folder. Say,
Yeah.
when someone says, "Oh, Tayo, when did we make this decision about da, 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 da? I wasn't privy to it. Can you send me?" I just go there because I've named it. I just click it rather than scrolling through emails, right? So everything is, I have a screenshot, everything is documented. I also started to do something now. Rather than taking screenshots, I take the attachment. You know how you can turn your message to an attachment?
Yeah.
So I
It
turn the
saves
message
email
into
as attachment. Yeah.
exactly. So I save the email as an attachment and I save it. Prior, I used to do like a lot of screenshot, but I'm like, nah, I want them to see the actual full copy. So I take
Yeah.
I save the email as an attachment and then I save it in the decision channel. And that saves a lot. And documentation as well, because you will forget.
Yeah.
Even the people talking about it, they will forget. Everyone will forget. And when you leave, you shouldn't leave with that sort of knowledge. And that's how people see you as someone who is extremely valuable.
Yeah.
Even though you're not here, we're still seeing the work that you did. And someone can pick up from wherever you've left. So I absolutely couldn't agree more with that. But I was
Great.
thinking about something, Noah, just when you were talking about communication and people, and there's it does sound like there's a lot of people interaction. I just thought someone would be out there thinking, oh, but I'm a little bit introverted. I don't really like to talk to people. People say that. And I know that there's a lot of misconception about people who are introverts, right? Introverts
Yeah.
are not necessarily people who don't talk or don't like people, right? So,
Yeah.
but I just, from your experience, what do you think an introvert should keep in mind right now if they're feeling scared? That it does sound like there's a lot of interactions. I'm more of a one-liner person. I'm not a, let's chit chat, let's do all of that. I'm just very direct. What
Yeah.
do you think they should keep in mind right now? Knowing fully well that they really want to explore a role in tech, but it's like there's too much people interaction and there's too much people skills required. What would you say?
Yeah. I think this is a very interesting one. Recently I was listening to a podcast and somebody said, "Oh, the best type of salespeople I've actually worked with are people that are introverted because they are
Hmm.
level-headed, they are logical, they go straight, they give you facts,
Yeah.
figures, and they close a deal.
Hmm.
An extroverted person will chat about so many things that they talk like they just can be lost in the details sometimes
Hmm.
and confuse or overbearing kind of information for the customer.
Hmm.
Now, in tech, you don't necessarily need to be an extrovert. I don't consider myself as an extrovert.
I agree.
Some people will argue, say, "Oh, you're doing podcasts, you're doing this, you talk to a lot of people," but naturally, I'm not an extrovert. But I think that at the end of the day, we are extroverted to the things that we care about. Like that is the way I see it. Like we talk when we need to talk. Check people that are extrovert. They are people they talk to more naturally and they loosen up. They have good time with. If you're in a place where you need to talk, you bring that extrovert. Like the shyness is a real thing, but from that perspective, on the job, you don't need to be a talkative to do the job.
I agree.
The job does not even want you to be a talkative. It just wants you to find facts, find information, document it. I have colleagues that like I've noticed I work with some Vietnamese people.
Yeah.
And trust me, those guys are so respectful and most of them are introverted by design.
Wow.
Because how do I know? I work with a lot of them.
Yeah.
And you just see similarities. Like they are so introverted. They hardly even say anything in meetings.
Wow.
But they get the job done. So
which is
there are
which
some
is on
roles
top.
that you need to talk a bit more. They talk when they need to talk. Oh,
Mm,
and present this thing. They will do slide and everything and talk
yeah,
about it, right? By the way, English is not even their first language. So they have to deal with a lot of things to work in this climb. Like they need to learn English and everything, plus their own personality. So if you even have English as your first language, if you're introverted, you're just introverted because there's no cause for you to. At work, I've never seen somebody at work climb on the table, be dancing, flinging things. That is
no,
not what is
no,
needed on the job.
no,
The job
no,
needs you to communicate. You don't need to
yeah,
be an extrovert. People know you everywhere. Yeah, personality, it can help in some case, like, oh yeah, help you cool down your nerve. Maybe you're
yeah,
used to talking to people, it's
yeah,
easier.
yeah,
But if you're working with a team of 3 or 4 or 5, right? You don't need to be an extrovert. If you're working with people of 100 and you have a presentation, yeah, you can have that nerves like, oh, I don't like to talk to people.
yeah,
But like you build it, this is my job and this is what I need to do. You
yeah,
develop your skills and you deliver. The central point is you don't need to be an extrovert to get the job done. There are
mm,
some roles that it will help you a bit more. Say roles like business science where you talk to a lot of people. But again, it depends
yeah,
on the company you're working. Some
yeah,
company you're just working with 5 people, 4 people. Some company like yours, you're working with hundred
multi,
thousand,
yeah,
it depends. But you build it. And some roles like software testing, like product design, you might not need to do presentation. You might just be they give me this thing, I do it, I test
yeah,
it, I move on.
yeah,
Or I'm just talking to my project team. But at the
yeah,
end of the day, whether you need to talk to 100 people, 500 people, 2 people, or one
yeah,
person, the central point, you don't need to be an
yeah,
introvert. You just need to communicate.
mm,
Communicate your idea, make sure people understand what you're saying. That is all you need to do the job you're required to do. You don't need to
mm.
pull your shirt out and be notice me or dancing on the table. Nobody needs that. You'll be clowning around. That is not needed for the job.
I
Trust me.
agree. I agree. And you said one very important thing, and it just made me remember one of the project that I worked on. What people care about is, are you getting the job done? Whether you chit chat away or whether you go straight to the point,
Yeah,
are you getting the job done? Now, on this
absolutely.
project, there were two business analysts, myself and another BA, and trust me, we're complete opposite of each other. I'm more of a, hi everyone, how's everyone doing? Are we having a good weekend? What's the plan for the weekend? She's more, hello everyone, today we're going to talk about this. Straight to the point, she gets the job done. We both get the
Absolutely.
job done, we just do it differently, right? So she talks about it and say, oh my goodness, she doesn't like a lot of meetings, but she's worked with like really, really big organizations, right? My point is, whether you're an introvert or not, whether you're an extrovert, the key question is, are you skilled enough to do the job? Can you do the job?
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
you keep to yourself or you're not a big talker like some people are, it's not a problem. That's what we're trying to say. Simply put, it is not a problem. Like, no, like this girl on the job, she's literally a, hi everyone. This was what we discussed. Whereas I'm a, hello everyone. We got plans, all that stuff.
Yeah,
And we both do the job. We just do it
exactly.
differently. So, and that's the
Exactly.
key thing,
That's
doing.
that's the key thing. Now let's talk about salary.
Okay.
So there's this debate. A lot of people earn in the so-called low-skill job. They
Yeah.
earn a good living in tech as well. At least, except you're living under the rock,
Yeah.
you know that there's money in tech, right? So
Yeah.
there are
Yeah.
opportunities. So can you just run us through what like typical salary and you
Yeah.
share your own experience as someone who has done both, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. Honestly, and this is so, I don't know what's the coincidence is actually quite loud. I was talking to someone last night and the person said, Tayo, I'm mad. I'm upset. And I was like, okay, is everything all right? What's happening? And he said, I checked my pay slip and I checked my what's the word? That tax
Yeah.
summary,
Yeah.
and everything was just 100,000 per annum, and I've left my house every single day. I haven't slept. I haven't done this. I've had to chase shift.
Wow.
And this is all I get. I am tired. I don't want to do this again. And I could understand them. I could really, 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 really understand where this person's coming from. I mean, people make money, doing like low skill jobs and doing jobs that it's probably, below their actual skills. But something has to give. They always need to give something.
Yeah.
So as an example, typical rate is usually like 70, 65. So to double that, you need to take on more hours. You take on more hours means you need to leave your house a lot more. You need to sacrifice your sleep. You're probably working 24 hours. I've done that before as well, so I know exactly what it is. And the money would come, but you're
At
not
what
sleeping.
cost?
You're not sleeping. You're always on the road. You're not spending time with family. And, the other day someone was talking to me and they said they would have to hide or go through their laundry because they felt like they were not being a present parent, and they had to like hide so their kids wouldn't see them. And that really helped me, like just hearing him say that, because I know that everyone wants to provide, but at what cost? And this person says something like, am I just going to be a parent that provides, or a parent that is actually available and providing? And that stayed with me. But in relation to tech, where we're talking about roles of 120, 130, and all you need to do is work Monday to Friday. What else? What else could you possibly be asking for? You work Monday to Friday. Depends on the complexity of the project that you're working on. You don't even fully sometimes spend full 8 hours working, because it's really strategic work, that you're oftentimes doing. So you work Monday to Friday, you have your weekend to yourself. I mean, I just celebrated my birthday and my son's birthday, and I recall my senior leader was the one actually saying, Tayo, you need to go on leave on your son's birthday. I said, look, I've got a party planned and I'm not doing it on this day. I'm doing it the following weekend. And she said, yes, I know, but take the day off. Like, just spend the time with your child. And I know that there's only, few career they can afford you that, where someone's actually telling you. And I wasn't worried about the money or anything. I knew that I was still going to get paid and, all of that amazing stuff. So really, the simple answer is yes. There is a lot of money that you can make in tech. Upward of 6 figures, and all you need to work is 5 days a week. Of course, you put in the work. And as you go up the ladder, you can literally move from 120 to 160, rather than me being in a career where they're just adding 0.1 to my pay. And at the end of the day, you pay it in tax. So the additional doesn't even add up anymore. You can't see it in your salary because you pay it in tax. So there's money to be made in tech, and you wouldn't have to kill yourself. All you would be required to do is 5 days a week. And if you're absolutely, absolutely lucky, you would actually do it from the confines of your house, 5 days a week. I think we're in July now. I need to go to my office in like 2 weeks' time. I've only been to the office like twice this year, and I've done a lot of amazing work. So there's lots of things to be with, but even now, like behind the monetary part of things, I think that there's a lot of other benefits that is not very loud or pronounced.
Yeah.
I cannot undermine the importance of flexibility that my job offers me. Now, I breastfed my baby for 1 full year, and that meant I had to wake up every single night with my husband, like would wake up every night to feed our baby. Thinking about that, and thinking about the fact that I didn't have to then wake up at 5 a.m. to go and shower, start to rush to work, and then try to beat traffic, and then, come back at 5 p.m., look after my baby, breastfeed, that cycle again. When I think about it, it just makes me very appreciative of the choice that I made when I decided, well, when you decided, like, sis, you're going to be in tech, like, I'm just really thankful for that journey because the journey of motherhood taught me a lot of things with not sleeping, not getting enough sleep, the wanting to be there for your little one, wanting to spend time with your little one. I went back to work 3 months postpartum, and till today, my colleagues at work would say, Taya, you're a crazy woman. Like, how do you do this fully functional with your brain and you remember things that even I cannot remember? And even sometimes I'm like, oh, okay, thank you. Because everyone knows that being a mom is hard. Then now combine it with a career where I have to leave my house 5 days a week. I have to wake up, I have to drive there, I think about that. That can be insane. So behind all the monetary part of things aside, there's a lot of peace, flexibility, self-awareness, just being in a career that has high growth potential. I get asked every time, Tayo, you're currently a senior business analyst. Was there any other role you would like to explore? Even if like you need to get trained, the company is ready to support you on that journey. If you need, and I know that from my exploratory, from me moving up, it means I get higher pay, so it means I have more influence.
Of course.
And that's the sort of career that you want to find, you want to bring yourself into as well. Whether or not you have a family now, you just want a career where spending weekend with your family is not giving you headache because you think you're losing money, or spending Christmas away from work is not giving you migraine because you think, oh my goodness, I've just lost 70, you've just lost some money. So that is not it. I personally, and this is just my personal opinion, I think that it's really hard to live in that sort of bubble where when you spend Saturday and Sunday at home, you instantly have some migraine because you know that you're leaving some money on the table.
Yeah. I mean that is stating the obvious. Um, but we've seen the highs of this weekend, right? Last, I think earlier this week, I should say, uh, where we had the privilege
The
to,
privilege.
yeah, the privilege to showcase our product at the Australian Parliament House. Right, and that was like an apex moment for us, right, as
Absolutely.
a company, and being in that type of environment. Last week I was chatting with one of our amazing friend Pedro, where he actually gave a new perspective about importance of network. Right,
Hmm.
your
Yeah.
network, we know your network is your net
It's your
worth,
net
right?
worth. Absolutely.
And he said something like, he said, the only regret I have is that I've not really been focused about networking like 2015. I will not be where
Hmm.
I am today. And
Wow.
just being in the opportune position to be in the parliament house showcasing our tech. You walk me through the type of people we met in that environment. Like the mindset shift, the way you start to think of what is possible in life. For me personally, it was beautiful. We had a lot of productive conversation with so many top people in this country and
Many.
beyond, and
So
it was
many.
mind blowing.
So many. And even just reliving that moment. I mean, this time last week, we didn't even know what was to come.
Yeah,
We just we had our hopes. We knew God was with us, and we knew we had to do what we had to do. We
yeah.
didn't even have an idea. Like, who would have thought? Like, just thinking about the people that we met, and not just meeting them. It was an encounter because these are people who are ready to listen to what we've got. These are people that are ready to listen to us, to give a helping hand and say, how can we support you? And being in the room with top leaders and them asking you, how do we come in? How do we step in?
Hmm.
Tell me about your solution. Tell me about this innovation.
Hmm.
Thinking about um, the president of the
Yes,
ACS
yeah.
president, and the question she asked, I said, talking about visa and saying a very important thing. We want people like you. We want people with tech skills. We need to keep people with tech skills in the country because that is the future. And she said it with every seriousness. And
Yeah.
then post that conversation, she handed her
Our
card
card, yeah.
and said, "Nah, you guys we need to talk. Like beyond today, we definitely need to talk." And then seeing the former Minister of Home Affairs,
Oh my
who
God.
we didn't even have the clue that she was the former Minister of Home Affairs. Like, mate, like that's as high as it gets. Like that's massive. And talking about the product beyond just the meeting, because we're not influencers, right? Like
Yeah.
we're not about fame or just
Yeah.
taking photos with celebrities. That's not the aim. It's about the productivity of the conversation we had and the validation for us as well. Because for me personally, it
Big.
was such a big validation that
Yeah.
we are doing something right. I'm talking
Yeah.
about this innovation to top like people with like visionaries, and they can resonate with what we're talking about. For
Yeah.
me, it was definitely top of it. And then just when we thought
It
that
was
was
all
like we were
that
still
was
even
it.
living in the bubble. We just went to like the Nigeria embassy, literally just a conversation saying, "Oh, I just flew into Canberra. If you could answer me a bit early, that would be good." And we're like, "Oh, yeah, okay." I said, "Yeah, flew into Canberra with my husband and the team as well to showcase our product at the Parliament House." And the man said, "Oh, Her Excellency was there as well. Did you see her?" I was like, "No, I didn't." And it's like, "Oh, okay, she's upstairs today. Would you like to meet her?" And,
Yeah.
I learned something from there. There are some things that you will do when they will naturally take you into rooms you only dreamed of. Like
Absolutely.
you wouldn't even have to ask.
Yeah.
Because one, you've got God. Secondly, you're doing the right things.
Yeah.
People will generally push for you. And this literally said, "Would you like to meet her?" I said, "Yes, thank you. Definitely, we would love to." And literally just like that, I could have I could have had to ask him, but he offered
Yeah.
and went upstairs directly and spoke to her, and she was extremely beautiful. And it also taught me something as well. Like no matter where you are in life, you
Mm.
need to always be warm and just be a sweet person to
Person,
people.
yeah.
Like she was so warm and kind and just
Admirable.
absolute
Like
embodiment
she's
of
yeah.
excellence, and
Helpful. She was no, it was
helpful,
incredible.
even pushing and saying, "No, we have to do this, we have to do that. I'm going to talk to the leaders, I'm going to do this," instantly. And there was just a lot of lessons from our session, from
Yeah.
our visit to the Parliament House from last week. And I've been doing a lot of thinking in my head, like, okay, what is next step for us? But really, knowing fully well that whatever it is that you're doing in life, you cannot be mediocre at it.
You can't.
Whether you're trying to transition, whether you've already transitioned and you're working, whether you're still thinking about upskilling, whatever it is that you're doing in life,
Yeah.
always strive for excellence. That's the only way. When
Absolutely.
people know you, they don't know you as average. They know you as someone who puts in their best.
Hmm.
And guess what? If you fail, you've learned something,
Something,
you've
yeah.
had that learnings, and you never have to fail again. So you can, because I notice that sometimes the fear makes people just average, like, "Oh, well, I don't really know this thing. I'll just do it anyway,"
Yeah.
and then the fear of failure. And I just tell myself every single day that fear kills faster
It
than the
does.
actual failure, because
Ab-
you're so scared in your brain you can't even do much. So it was
yeah.
definitely to your point, Noah. It was definitely a light bulb moment at
It
100%.
was. It was. I should also add that, our preparation also met with grace and opportunity.
Yeah.
Like we didn't just go up and meet her. We've actually done some research about her, learnt about her journey,
Yes.
and that propelled us to actually have a fruitful conversation with her. Same with some of the people we met in
Literally
Canberra, and
anyone.
of course, knowing about our product as well, making sure we're pitching it right and communicating the idea. That was super good. And
Yeah.
it's about preparation, like doing
Absolutely.
research, finding information. We
Yeah.
literally summarize all the MPs, like what's their district,
Yes.
what they care
What
about,
did they
things like
do?
that.
Yeah.
What did they do? What suburb or environment are they representing? So it was really great. I think that I wanted us to kind of land the plane and talk about um so just going into the big factor, fear.
Yeah.
A lot
Hmm.
of people fear have fear about making that leap of faith to
More.
pursue this
Yeah.
career.
Yeah.
And then the final thing is about and the final thing is about talking about you know how the importance of timing plays a
Hmm.
crucial role, right?
Hmm.
And I say that because some people want to, if something is not happening in shortest possible time,
Yeah.
they're like giving up, like, oh yeah, that's it, it's not working
Yeah.
for me. I mean, like, I just move on. They want to compare somebody's end to their own beginning, and
Hmm.
that's dangerous.
Dangerous.
So
Yeah.
what was your view on that? Because I know you have a lot of experience on this.
Timing is everything. And when you think about the things that you want to do now versus why don't I just do it tomorrow?
Yeah.
I always tell myself something. And I think that this really helps me to really navigate when I need to choose between doing something now and doing it later. It's the fact that you always need to think about, am I taking the easy route?
Hmm.
Am I just taking the easy way? Easy way would be, as an example, for context, before we started to shoot today,
Yeah.
we had gone out. As a matter of fact, we were sleepy coming back to the house.
Yeah.
And we just wanted to get to the house and just relax. But we had a plan that we were going to talk about a couple of things today about, what we do. We had the plan. The easy way out really was to
Hmm.
sleep. And that's the truth. And the truth is, for every single thing you do in life, there's always going to be the easy way out.
There's
You always need
always.
to ask yourself, am I taking the easy way out? Or I'm taking the way out that's going to take me to where I need to go to? That helps me a lot because I cannot overemphasize the importance of timing. I think about, and I always use this example, and I know that you don't believe it. For a lot of people that I don't know, I had Invisalign, so I had an orthodontic treatment. And when I had my orthodontic treatment, this was in 2021. Was it 21, 22? Yeah, so it was in 2021. I started my orthodontic treatment. For context, orthodontic treatment is really when you think that your teeth are not aligned and you want to fix them. So I decided I didn't quite like the structure of my dentition. I look at my husband, oh my goodness, he's got such perfect dentition. I look at some of my friends, I'm like, oh my goodness, why is mine different? So I wanted to change it. For the longest time, I wanted to change it, but the timing was just never right. Now, in 2021, I just made the move, and this cost me thousands of dollars. Think about it. Go and do your research if you want to know how much it costs. But anyway, I think about that. I think about it. If I didn't do it in 2021,
Hmm.
I genuinely don't have the time right now. I'm so busy doing a lot of other important things that even though that would eat me up, because again, my confidence is everything. I'm everything that you have, that you're everything that you have. And when you think about the things that makes you feel a little bit not as confident as you should be, if you can fix them, fix them. If it's something that you can work on it, whether it's your character or features or etc., do it. But in this case, I was telling my husband, I said, I'm really glad that I did my treatment when I did it. Because look at me now. I do a lot of talking. I'm talking to people. I'm literally always on camera doing something, educating someone or mentoring someone or coaching or talking, going for, events and just really being very impactful. I know that this sounds very minute. It may sound very minute, but it meant a lot to me. So if I hadn't done it in 2021, I'm not in that space of life where I have the time, because 247, there's something that we're busy doing that is changing someone's life. And that is more important. And that would have taken priority over me wanting orthodontic treatment. If you don't know about it, it takes time. I literally visited my dentist every 2 weeks, and there were days where I had to go like twice, because they have to check it, they have to change things, they have to do a lot of things, right? So my point is timing is key. Even thinking
Yeah.
about my journey to tech, I could have said, look, we're going to do it after, I'm going to do it later on. And look at I think about the life that God has used me to really, really impact. And I think about the journey like, oh, if I hadn't listened, if I hadn't done it, perhaps I would be stalling someone's progress or
Yeah.
someone's change. And that's how you need to think about the things that you need to do. Think about the people that are connected to you. Think about someone out there that may be a beneficiary of this thing when you do it. And let that drive you as well. Like, don't just think about yourself. Think about the people that would that would impact, or that would potentially change their life or even motivate them. So the easy route is always to say I'll do it tomorrow. To be honest, that's the easy way route. Or I'll do it later. But the easy way route does not necessarily lead to the top. I need to always think about that. So for me, timing is key. You want to transition to tech or you want to upskill. Don't procrastinate. Do it now. Don't let your fear take over. The world is changing, technology is changing, nothing waits for no one.
Yeah.
You want to, like anything that you want to do not take the easy way out. Itemize the steps. It's easy to wake up and say, look, I'm just going to sleep today. I acknowledge constraints, I acknowledge limitations, but you need to sweep your way out of constraints. There's always going to be something that stops you from doing what you need to do. And that's the truth. You either push the block away, or you stay in front of or you stay behind the block and let the block stop you. I said to myself, there are two different types of people, and it really guides me. There are people who see what they want to do, and there are people who see what stops them from doing what they want to do. And I told myself, I never want to be the second person. I never want a storming block. I never want to see anything that stops me from doing what I want to do. I see what I want to do. I focus on it. And when I came to the realization that it's okay to fail, I fear nothing anymore. If I fail, I fail. I learn from it. I do it better the next time. I do it till I never have to fail again. And that's it. So it's more around when you talk about timing, when you talk about fear, think about this. What do you see when you look at the things that you want to do? Do you see what stops you from doing what you want to do? Or do you see what you want to do? Those things, they guide me. They genuinely guide me.
Absolutely. I think there's so many nuggets there. And just to add on top of that, my own mantra these days is in anything I'm doing that I've set as my goal, I'm not looking for the short term win for that. Like, I'm not focused on the short term win. Even if it comes, it's fine. But everything I do, I say, I want to do it for 10 years before I say, nah, this thing is not
Yeah.
working. If it's
Yeah.
not done for 10 years, I am not going to give up on that thing. Whether it's running a company, of course, you know how we started running this company. It's just me and you that
Yeah.
have visibility on what we're doing. Look
Yeah.
at what it is today. Today, we've employed more than 30 people, right?
Yeah.
I think we're approaching 30. The
Yeah.
other contractors that do different things.
Yeah.
And look at that journey. Before, it was just me. We'll do website, do this, do sales,
Yeah.
do marketing, do graphic design, do every single thing in the
Everything.
business, right? But it is not
Yeah.
where it is today. Were there
Yeah.
times where we felt like, wow, next month we might close and we'll be so worried and, things are not working,
Yeah.
but we kept going.
Yeah.
So the mindset for me is I'm going to do this for 10 years before I check. Am I failing? Right? Right. So, yes, my mindset is really to do the thing for 10 years
Yeah.
and check how it's going.
Yeah.
Like that long term view just helps you, narrow down your expectation and make you focus. And if you can apply that, it might not be 10 years, it might be 1 year.
Yeah.
Especially for people that are transitioning to master something, you need 10,000 hours.
Yeah.
Right? So depending on where you're getting started, yours might start, you might get the job like, very quickly. You might get the job, a bit later.
Yeah.
The point is, as long as you keep trying, you're going to get that opportunity. So let's just talk about the recent thing we started doing just to help us, because we feel like we give a lot,
Yeah.
we give, and it's very important for us to also like continue to replace the cup, right?
That's
So we don't run dry, right? So we've been going on. I think we recently started going on book date.
Yeah.
Is that what we call it?
Reading date.
Reading date. So how did this week go? The first week.
I think, I actually love reading. I mean, we read a lot of things, but this one's more
Yeah.
like it's not really around about, career nights. Life generally. We're learning about tax system. We're learning about small businesses, building a business. We're learning about health and food and all of the things that you're doing. So I think for me, like, it was quite good, refreshing, just like blocking time
So what
out.
are the top? Yeah.
Blocking time out
Like.
to read. So what were you going to say?
No, I really liked that. We were just on the bed and we were just like focused on reading
Yeah.
and learning. I think that was really, really satisfying
It
for me.
was. It was.
And yeah, I think I want to do that more. Sometimes we'll go out of the house. We've agreed we'll go out to the library, or we just
Yeah.
go to the shopping center, find a quiet place, and just read. I think it's it's a very good thing, because I found out that, like, Africans, we don't like to read a lot.
Don't say that. That's a big one to say. So some people.
Yeah, not all of some. Yeah, I think that a larger part of the population don't like to read. Even me, I'm just like getting into. I'm talking about reading actual books that are
just
not like
general reading, isn't it?
Yeah, general reading, not just. Of course, Africans are like the most educated people, so
That's what I'm
we
trying
read
to
a
say,
lot.
like,
I'm talking about like reading generally about things that are not really academic, vibe. So that's what I meant.
So what book are you reading?
So
let's hear from you. What's the book, and what have you learned from the book?
The book is interesting. I have my book here. I kind of like take it everywhere. I'm kind of obsessed. Like when I'm eating, when I'm, doing something, I'm with the book. So it's basically 101.
101.
It's basically 101 ways to save money on your tax legally in Australia. And two things are certain in life: debt and taxes. I think it's such a cliche word, but like, I'm reading, and I want to learn how to actually understand how money works in this environment.
Yeah.
And I think genuinely there are a lot of things that this book claims that will save you thousands of dollars. I genuinely think it is true based on what I've read. I've not read a lot yet.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of insight that I've had to like, pen down, like, wow.
Yeah.
So from childcare benefit to, employment tax, there's a lot of things. And the interesting fact I found is actually the dead or the diseased here in Australia
Do you pay that?
Their estates still have to pay tax, so
Yeah.
which is like what I think back home in Nigeria, the only tax that I'm really worried about is PYG, pay as you go tax, and VAT. That's about it. Like if you have, or you want to like give your children your house, or you want to sell properties, you don't really pay significant capital gain tax, things like that. But here, literally, there's tax in everything,
Everything.
almost everything you do in money. And
Yeah.
it's important for you to learn about it so you can maximize your opportunity to keep
Yeah.
more of your money.
Yeah.
What are you reading?
When you talked about disease estate, I remember when I started working in the bank and I would see like a lot of brochures, just talking about what guides, what the policies are and what they need to do.
Yeah.
For me, even I was surprised for a second, like, oh, wow. Okay. How did things concern? But yes, I think that's really good. And it's really
It's
good to,
important because when I lost my dad, I know we went through hell to like get that was in Nigeria. So he had a Nigerian bank account
yeah.
with a
I
couple of
remember
money
that
in
one
there. We
was really
wanted to,
annoying.
yeah, like, oh my god, we went to the court. It was such an hectic process. Gosh, of course, because again, we don't believe in. Well, I think there's more education on that. People do their will even if they are
Yes.
not like
Yeah.
very old. Like they
Yeah.
still like do their will, but like it was such a tedious. But I don't think I want my family to go through that, that kind
No.
of
What
struggle.
you just said now just made me remember something that you said. I'll still talk about my book, but it just made me remember.
Yeah,
Do you know what I'm talking about?
I think I know what you're talking about.
Oh my goodness. Like, just thinking about it, I'm even like, I don't know where to start.
So what was that about?
Okay. So, for context, we were traveling and we do have a child, a 1 year old, and we were going to leave the house, we are going to live in with his grandmother. And on the morning that we were traveling, and my husband was like, babe, let's write our account number, something. Let's write down our account details. I was like, why? What happened? Oh, are we sending? Is someone coming to the house that needs to take money? Da, da, da. Genuinely, I was very naive, and then he said, no, 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 because we're traveling. I was like, yeah, okay. At that point, I was starting to get upset. And then, yes, so, we're traveling. Let's just write it down. I said, I don't understand. Since when are you unable to explain the reason behind the action? Like, run me through your thought process, bro. And I kept on questioning. He's like, oh, baby, why are you questioning? I'm like, since when is questioning a big deal? Why are you telling me? Is someone coming to the house? Like, genuinely, I was confused. And he said, okay, this is what I'm thinking about. We're traveling and we have a son. Don't you want him to have things that I said, why? We're coming back to the house. It's like, yes, yes, definitely. But I said, nah, there's no but. I started to quote all the Bibles. I said, nah, please stop talking. I don't want to hear it. I'm going to get my hair done now. Please stop talking about writing things that I don't want to hear it. I was like, all right, I'll let the emotional part of you think about it for a second. I know that the logic will kick in. I said, there's not logic in the house of God. I'm not going to think about anything. As a matter of fact, I have no other things to say to you. I'm not thinking about this. Point blank period. Do not say anything to me about this. I am not going to think about it. We are traveling. We are coming back to meet our child. And honestly, I don't know if it's just me. I'm really keen to hear people's thought about this. But
Yeah, I think.
I was really holding on to like God. Certainly, this is not the will of God for us. This is not the promise of God for our lives. Like, we're not going to die by hair. We're not going to die by accident. we will live and
Definitely.
we'll live to declare and fulfill the glory of God. It's definitely not now. But I think that was the first time. I think even E was feeling a little bit emotional because that was the first time we were leaving our child. Literally, we've like for 12 months straight, we've been together everywhere because we
Yeah.
work from
So
home. So everything we've done together. So first time leaving him, traveling, and he, can you write out the account details? Can you do this? Do you want?
so I so like I've had that experience, as you know, and it's not it wasn't like I was thinking about it prior, but that I mean the
The
eve of our
timing.
travel,
The timing was
I was
awful.
I was going through the moment like, oh my goodness, so we're gonna leave our son with grandma. Of course, grandma does not have any account or anything here. She's here temporarily. And I'm like, okay, so this guy has like again, there's the emotional side, there's the
Yeah.
logical side.
Yeah.
The reason why we buy insurance or why we get insurance for anything, which was my argument, is to safeguard that 1% that something happens,
Yeah.
right? You're covered. We can both agree on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course. I'm not I'm not preempting, or I definitely don't, it's not my thinking that, oh, I will travel and die by air or something and that's it. But it was just like an insurance policy, seeing what I've gone through in my own life as well. I'm that experienced. Like
Yeah.
I want the best I know you want the best, ultimate best for
Yeah.
our baby. So
Yeah.
if there's a 1% chance, do you agree that there's a 1% chance? Thank God we're back home. We bless God. But there's a 1% chance that something happens, right? Logically, of course, nothing will happen. So I'm like, okay, in that 1% chance, what is going to be the best scenario for this boy? Really thinking about it, right? Grandma has nothing, literally, in
In
this
this
country.
country. Yeah.
So, what is the essence of having what we are, at least? And then, if something happens, what is the fate? They become. I don't know. I don't want to think about that. So that's why I said, yeah, let's try it. But I did write it, by the way. I know you don't know. And when I came back, I picked up my thing and binned it.
Where did you put
I
it?
know because
Where did you put it?
I kept it in the office here. Yeah. I kept it in the office here. I placed the marker on top of it so it doesn't fly around. Like I know that okay, in the movies they will check the hours and stuff, but it's very accessible. I kept it on the table here. I wrote my account and I wrote the pin there. I'm like, well, God goes with us, but just in case, 1% chance. If you're not doing it, at least this my own account is here, just for insurance. And when we were back, I had to quickly go and bin it because again we were having that argument, and it was a balanced argument. I was like, okay, I see where you're coming from. It wasn't an easy conversation for me to have as well. You
Yeah.
understand? So it was difficult for me to have that conversation as well. But I was like applying logic and everything else because again, it's very weird saying, oh, there's a 1% chance that. So basically, I came back and I didn't want any argument or any whatever.
Yeah.
I just being I literally was conscious to being it, like, so you don't even know that
Yeah.
I eventually did it,
Yeah.
so yeah, but I did it, and yeah, nothing happened, but simply put, it's just an insurance. you know the reason we have insurance for different things, are we saying, oh, I'm gonna be in an accident or my house is gonna, you know but yeah, it's really the same. That's the way I see it. But I'm keen to again hear from people what their thoughts are on this matter.
Well, I'm keen.
Um,
The truth is, I do understand where you're coming from, but the timing was awful. The timing was like
but
absolutely.
what time would have been better? You would have been arguing about it if I told you 2 days, And to be honest, as I said, I didn't think about it 2 days to the trip. You know
No,
where my head was at.
no, because
Like I didn't think about it even till I actually like very late in the night, like maybe 1 a.m. I wasn't thinking about it. It's the realization that oh, we are leaving this boy now
yeah,
alone. No, nothing. Literally, you know that we had to actually give some cash for food, formula, and all of those things, right? So the night before, so like literally, that's all of what they would have immediate access to. Think about it.
yeah, I know, and I understand what you're saying. But you can't tell a mother that's leaving their child for the first time to write the account details down. Like,
Well,
no, I feel like the timing, like,
yeah,
you know that I'm very reasonable and very, very logical. I'm very emotional as well, but you know that logic takes place, that like takes over.
I know, but I'm saying
If
that
we had talked about it
it
a week
wasn't easy
before,
for me.
I
No, I
know, I
wasn't thinking
know.
about it a week because I never think about things like
Exactly,
that.
exactly. Yeah,
Yeah, so that's why I'm saying there's a context to it. It wasn't something I've been
I
nursing or
agree. I
something.
agree. Yeah,
Definitely I would have told you that hey,
yeah,
this is what I'm thinking. Like, what do you think? It was not even 1 second in my thinking.
yeah,
But I just think that immediately it hit me like, you
yeah,
know, and then and this book actually also like throws a lot of perspective into all of those things.
yeah,
So I'm like, oh yeah, from logic point of view, let's do this. You didn't agree, but I did it, anyway. But
yeah,
like I did it from my perspective, like, hey, okay, I'm not gonna bug you.
yeah,
Worst case scenario, since my head is here, I'm going to do this,
yeah.
and everything else is right. But God has been faithful. He will always be faithful. Nothing will happen to us. But yeah,
Yeah,
like just saying,
yeah.
that was the reason for that. But
Anyway,
yeah,
I'm
thank
keen
you
to
so
hear
much.
from
I
people's
think
thoughts. Guys, if you agree, let me know in the comment section. If you're gonna write down your account details when you're flying without your child, let me know. But but
it will do life insurance. So
let's talk about my
what
one.
are your thoughts or life insurance?
Oh yeah, I think it's brilliant. It's a thing to have 100%.
Oh, you agree with that one
I
because the
do
timing is right,
100%.
or what?
Say that again.
Because the timing is right, or why do you agree with that
Yeah,
hundred
because
percent?
I've read about it. Like I know about life insurance. Like the idea of insurance is like to your point to safeguard the people around you, to safeguard you in some cases, and or to safeguard your family. So if I have an opportunity to have that and do that for the stakeholders in my life, 100%, I'll take it. And that's how I say. With what you said around the account details and writing it down, like literally if you asked to the travel, I just couldn't sit with that thought for 1 second. Like I
Oh,
was
good.
not in a position because I was already feeling very emotional, like leaving him. It was the first time. And
We
like
both are. We
yeah, I
both are
know, but like
already there.
for me, I didn't expect that. You were the one nursing the idea. So it didn't pop into my head. So when you said it, I'm like, no, no, don't.
Yeah.
Don't. Don't.
Oh, good. We leave it to the viewer
Let's talk
to
about my
actually.
book.
I'll learn your book. Yes.
Okay, so I've got my one here. So I'm reading Small Business for Dummies. And it's quite interesting
Yes.
because I
Hmm.
love what the writer did with how he outlined the fact that I do not in any way, shape, or form think that you're a dummy. The reasoning behind or the creativity behind the title is for me to not think about the monetary part of this book alone, but to think about the impact and the knowledge that I want to pass on to other people. So when I say for dummies, it's not like I'm not in any way, shape, or form saying you're dumb. It's a guide for me to really put my heart into this and not just think about what's going to bring me the dollars when people see the book, but more around what's going to be the most relevant and useful to people. And I thought that was really, really brilliant. in that thought process. But for me, I haven't read it a lot, so I'm only like on page 10. But what I've learned, two things, maybe I'll just say two things like you did as well. So two things that I've learned here is the fact that when you're an employee, your income has a predefined upper limit. And I was thinking about it from the context of the job that I've done and currently do as well as an employee, as the fact that as an employee, there's always a threshold, there's a limit, no matter how hard you work. And you see that I put that in inverted comma in my brain, like no matter how hard I work, my income has a predefined upper limit as an employer. So you could wound yourself, you could do all these things
As an
as an
employee.
employee, rather.
Yeah.
There's only so much. So there's still that limit. If your pay is $5,000 per fortnight, you work hard, you don't, whatever it is that you do, even extra hours, it's still 5,000 in that fortnight.
Yeah.
Versus being on the other end where and I know that entrepreneurship is not really for everyone, and it comes with a lot of its odors and a lot of its what do we call it, it's chaos.
Pain.
It's pain. It's pain. So yes, and I also learned that being in business is a risk by itself. Like, you could run a business where you could lose everything, and you could run a business and you could wind up in millions. And it just made me really think about the fact that how much risk am I willing to take as an employer of labor? How much risk are we willing to take as entrepreneurs? And I've not read too much of it because there's like a whole chapter dedicated to taking risk and obviously evaluating the risk and taking, what's the word now, taking a safe risk if there's such thing,
Calculated risk.
calculated risk. But it really made me think about those things, like, so as an employee, no matter how hard you work, there's that predefined upper limit that you'd ever get. And for you to be in business, being in business itself is a risk. And you could lose everything or you could win everything. And, it's really stood out for me. And I'm really keen to learn more about, being in business, buying a business, and just learning. And it talks a lot about employing people. It talks a lot about money. It talks a lot about tax. It talks about general living and how you can look after your mental health as an entrepreneur, because literally as an entrepreneur, you're working 247 for peanuts. Like, we are currently not paying ourselves and we work like extra. And reading it in the book again was just like, okay, we're not alone. And it's just really powerful, especially at the beginning where you're trying to really firm up your strategy, and talks a lot about strategy as well, which I'm not there yet. But being your own boss can look very attractive on the outside, but it is quite daunting, and only you will truly know the extra hours that you have to put in, literally working around the clock just to ensure that things are working well. So yes, two things for me is the fact that as an employee, and that's shifted my head a lot as well, in the fact that what do I really want? Like, I need to ensure that the things that we're making the right decisions right now, our strategy is right, we are networking properly, to your point around early network, that can really change everything. And just continuing to live a life of impact and learning about risk as well. So yes, those are the two things for me I've learned in this book.
Powerful, powerful. I can't wait to actually read that as well. Yeah, super powerful. So if you've been getting value from this podcast, just to remind you, this is the conversation
Yeah.
where we share about life in Australia. We want you to thrive as an immigrant. We want you to thrive whether you're in Australia, UK, Canada,
Yes.
US, wherever you are. We talk about a bit of faith. We talk about career opportunities and everything else in between. So thank you so much for watching. Please smash the like button. Really helps us to grow. Please, guys, please share with your friends, subscribe to the channel. We really are counting on that for us to grow and become bigger. Thank you
Thank
so much for
you.
watching this episode. And if you want to transition and explore no-code tech careers, we are the go-to people.
Yes.
Myself and Tayo and the team will be willing to work with you to make sure that you achieve the goal. You have a fulfilling career, you have a happy career. It doesn't matter whatever you're doing, or you've done or you've not done. Just come with the right mindset.
Absolutely.
And we'll be able to help you get started and stay in it. As long as you're ready to stay in it, work hard, you will definitely get the opportunity to change your life and experience transformation.
That's it.
So thank you for watching this one, and see you in the next one. Bye.